All right, hi there, good evening. I'm going to start the class. Okay, it's 8:05 in the time here that we have to follow, right? And we have classes until 9 according to this time. It's the only day, right, that it's different from the rest of the days because, well, that's the schedule that they sent, right, from management. But anyway, let's begin. We have to work on this topic, reflexive pronouns. I'm going to be waiting for you, all right? As when you join, actually, we're going to see if you have questions about yesterday's class or the first lesson, right? You were not able to be there, the first part, and also Friday's class, right? About the lessons that I got to cover there. So if you have questions about it, I'm going to spend some time in trying to solve problems or doubts that you might have related to that. If there are no questions, if everything is clear, we continue working, and this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, but anyway, I have to start, and I'm going to do it now. Now, reflexive pronouns. Let's make this, all right, full screen, and we shall begin. Now, a definition. Reflexive pronouns are words like myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. They refer back to a person or thing, right? Anyway, the most common way to use these words, right, is when you want to say something or when you do an action and you receive that action yourself, right? You are the one that is performing the action and you are the one receiving the action. That's the most common way, perhaps, of using these words. But we have at least four different, in a certain way, they are related, but we have four ways to use it, the reflexive pronouns. So let's learn about it. Usage. We often use reflexive pronouns when the subject and the object of the verb are the same, right? It says, I cut myself when I was making dinner last night. Okay, I cut myself. Here we can see the example that I mentioned before. You do the action and you perform the action and you receive the action. I cut, you perform the action, myself, right? So you cut yourself. When I was making dinner last night. So this is related to past. Again, you do and you receive that action. It's the same in number two, right? When we say, I hope you enjoy yourselves. You enjoy, you do the action, and you receive that action. Okay, so this is the beginning. Now, guys, I was just starting, all right? This is the first part of the new lesson. But actually, before going to this lesson, I'm going to stop here. As I told you before, well, actually yesterday, I want to know if you have questions about the classes. I mean, the class from Friday, in which, right, I explained some topics, or about yesterday's class, right, the first part, in which I also explained one topic at the beginning of that class. So, do you have any questions or any doubts about those two before we can start with this new lesson? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, I don't have questions.
Okay, good. Good evening. So let's start then and let's continue with this. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time the title. This is reflexive pronouns, right? And reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, himself, herself, etc. All right, and so on and so forth. We're learning how to use these words in specific sentences. And here we are saying Gladys, that is when you do the action and you receive the action. For example, I cut myself. You do the action and you receive that action. You enjoy yourselves. You do the action and you receive that action. It turns itself off for no reason, right? When your phone is not working, it turns itself off. It means that the phone does the action and the phone receives the action because it's turning off. And finally, we need to believe in what? Ourselves, right? So we believe in what? In ourselves. We do and we receive. So let's try to give a couple of examples, Gladys. What can you think with these examples? Give me just One example in which you do the action and you receive the action, Gladys. What do you say?
I like myself.
Okay, yes, it's valid. Yes, and it's good that one likes himself, right, or herself, or oneself. Yes. What is something that many people do this when they go right to the street, they are walking, and suddenly they see like a reflection or a mirror, right? What do people do when they see mirrors or reflections on the street?
What's the action?
What do they do? What do people do when they see mirrors in the street, when they see reflections in the street? What do they do?
They see themselves.
They see themselves, exactly. They usually right stop or just right turn their head and they see right how they look sometimes and they see their clothing if everything is okay, right? So they see themselves in that reflection, right? So this is very simple, right? You do the action, you receive the action. This is number one. Great. Let's have that into account because we have 4 ways to use it. We're going to use those 4 ways. This is the second one, Gladys. Please help me by reading this slide.
We can add a reflexive pronoun for emphasis when it's unusual or different. He wants to pass his driving test so that can he drive himself to work, and she broke her arm so she couldn't wash herself very easily.
Great. Now, in these examples, this is not clear, but the difference is that they don't receive the action. All right, and it's going to be even more clear with the next examples, Gladys. This is related to that, okay? This is related to the previous example. It's the same. So let's complement the previous example with this one, please. Let's also read this element over here.
We can use reflexive pronouns to emphasize that someone does it personally, not anybody else. The door was definitely locked. I locked it myself. Are you redecorating your flat yourself?
Great. Now, what is the difference between this and the examples that we gave at the beginning? What do you say? What difference do you see, Gladys, between I cut myself, I see myself, right, in the mirror, and when you say the door was definitely locked, I locked it myself? Are you redecorating your flat yourselves? So what's the difference?
That the subject is not followed by the pronoun. It has like a long space between them.
Okay, good. I think we're good. And if I ask you, here, are we doing and receiving the action? Or is there another object receiving the action in this case?
Probably an object.
An object, right? For example, if number one, if I ask you, did you lock yourself or did you lock the door?
Did you lock the door?
You locked the door, right? In the second one, are you redecorating yourself or are you redecorating your flat or your apartment?
Your flat.
Your flat, right? So you don't receive the action. That's different. So how can you explain why then are we using myself and yourselves if we are not receiving the action? What is the purpose of that word there, Gladys?
Emphasize that someone does it personally.
Exactly, right? As you have it over there on the description, it's just for emphasis. Okay, emphasis. And it's when someone does it personally, or also, Gladys, as you had, sorry, as you had before, when it's unusual or different. Okay, for example, something unusual, it can be, you know, I built that house myself. Okay, I did it alone without any help, and it's unusual, it's different. That's why I'm saying that I built it myself. All right, because again, it's unusual, it's different, and I did it personally. So, what example can you give me in this case? What is something that you can say that someone else or that you did, perhaps, that is uncommon, that is different, that is unusual, so that you can use the reflexive pronoun? What do you say? Or only that it means personally? You can also use that meaning.
Could you repeat the question, teacher?
Yes, of course. What is an action that you did in the past that is very unusual, that is very different, or that you did personally so that you can use this structure, Gladys, right? It has to be a different example because remember, in your example, when you said, I like myself, you do the action and you receive the action. But in this example, you do the action, but you don't receive the action. Something else receives the action, but you say myself to put emphasis on the idea that you did it and that it's interesting, unusual, and different that you did it. Or just emphasis on the idea that you did it personally. So, what do you say? Taking that into account, what examples can you give with that logic? Okay, following that logic, Gladys. Anything that comes to your mind.
He is washing the car by himself.
Okay, close. Close, but that's number four. Okay, that's another usage. By oneself means alone, right? But in this case, it doesn't mean alone. It means personally, or it means different, or it means unusual. So your example is good, but don't say by himself. It is correct, but it has a different meaning. You can say he's washing the car himself. All right. And when you say only himself, you say, wow, really? He never washes his car, right? Or something different. All right. And in this case, again, if that's the context, if he never washes his car, then you can use that one. Okay, good. That's one. One more, please, to be sure. Remember, let's not use by because that means alone. And we're going to see that at the end. One more time without by.
She cooks the dinner herself.
Yes, he cooks dinner or the dinner, and in that case, just dinner works better, right? She cooks dinner herself. Exactly. It doesn't mean alone. It means that she does that. It's perhaps unusual because of a certain reason, or you just want to say personally, but not alone, right? Personally means that you were there, but it doesn't mean necessarily that you were alone. Okay, that's like the difference between myself and by myself. And we're going to get to that part. The next one, it's also for emphasis, Gladys, but here you have to use it next to a noun, as you can see on the examples. So let's read this slide, please, Gladys, to understand the third usage.
We can also use a reflexive pronoun together with the noun it refers to in order to emphasize it. We talked to the manager herself, and she agreed to give us our money back. Parents themselves need to take more responsibility for their children's learning.
All right, thank you very much. So what difference do you see? In this case is also for emphasis, but the main difference is that you use it next to the nouns, right? We talk to the manager herself, parents themselves. It means she, the manager, to put emphasis on the idea that it was the manager. Parents themselves, they, the parents, all right? Not anybody else, but the parents need to take more responsibility for their children's learning, right? So again, to put emphasis on the noun that is doing or receiving the action, it doesn't matter, but it has to be after a noun, okay? The manager herself, the president himself, the parents themselves, right? Mm, I don't know, my boss, right, himself, and so on and so forth. So give me please just one example, Gladys. Then we're going to write more examples, but just one using this type, reflexive pronouns after nouns.
The kids themselves needs to be responsible.
Okay. All right, the kids themselves, right? The kids or the children themselves could be, need to be, right? Because I think you're saying that in plural, right? The kids or the kid. Is it singular or plural, Gladys?
Plural.
Plural, right? Okay, so the kids themselves need to be responsible. All right, yes. One more, and the last one is what you said, by. All right, the meaning is alone. And this is not emphasis, this is not unusual, this is not different. This only means alone, right? Not anything special about it. Just a possibility to say that word. Okay, that's it. There's no emphasis, there's no impressive thing that you can say with by myself or by oneself. So let's read only the two examples, please, Gladys.
We can use by reflexive pronoun to mean alone. He usually goes on holiday by himself. Do you enjoy being by yourself?
Great. Thank you very much, Gladys. Now, I'm going to work on a chart. All right. I'm going to go to our document. I'm going to work on a chart to show the 4 ways to use this. And you're going to write something using this. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'll go to the. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can also let me know, please. Okay, so I'm going to work this with you. And we're going to divide this in parts of a sentence, right? So first you have the subject, then you have the verb, then you have the object that receives the action from the verb, and then you have the complement. Okay, now number 1, remember, you do the action and you receive the action, right? So I saw, right, myself in the mirror, right? That's the first one. You do the action and you receive the action. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, only emphasis because it's different, it's unusual, it's impressive, surprising, something that deserves or that is worth mentioning, okay? And that it's impressive enough to say myself, yourself, himself, and so on and so forth, right? So we can say, um, they, all right, what can it be? All right, they, let's keep the idea that I gave you before. Build, all right, that skies scraper themselves. All right, and again, it's impressive because it's a big, a very massive building, and that's why we believe that that's impressive, that only they were able to build that impressive building themselves. All right, we don't mean alone, we are just saying that they did it. Now, this is number two. Number one, number two. In number three, remember, we have two possibilities. So I'm going to write two ideas. It can be the subject or it can be the object. So you can say the president himself, right? The president himself, all right, has analyzed the, what could it be? Proposal. All right, so here it's next to the president because the emphasis is on the idea that the president did that action. Or it can be the object. So we can say, we, all right, we ran into, and let's say a famous guy, all right? We ran into, I don't know who it could be. I don't know, I'm going to say Donald Trump, all right? Donald Trump himself, right, in the street. So it is the idea that it was Donald Trump, okay? It was really him, and I'm putting emphasis on that idea. And finally, by, right, when it means alone. So we can simply say, I always, right, travel by myself. Right? It's not impressive, it's not different, it's something that I always do, but I'm just saying that I do that alone. All right, so all, in summary, the first one, you do, you receive the action. The second one, emphasis on that idea because it's different, unusual, impressive, or you did it personally. Number three and number four is because you're putting emphasis on one person or one group. The president himself has analyzed the proposal. We ran into Donald Trump himself in the street. Okay, so emphasis here on the president, and here emphasis on Donald Trump. And here I always travel by myself. It's something that I usually do. It's not different, not impressive. I'm just saying that I do it without any type of company, right? No one is accompanying me. No one is there with me. I'm alone, right? So those are the four types. Let me know if you have questions. If not, we are going to try to write the same ideas, but yes, no, actually only the ideas, please. You're going to write 5 different ideas, please, Gladys, with different verbs, with different objects, with different nouns, well, changing, all right, the details to show me the 4 ways to use it. But remember, number 3, that is noun, can be subject and object. Okay, so you need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences, please, doing what I did here. All right, with 5 examples. I don't know if you have questions, because after this, we are going to have a different practice. I'm going to show you one thing that we do, all right, in the TOEFL, so that you can practice that with me. first, I need you to write these examples. Let me know, please, if you have questions before writing them.
So, can you try to explain me in Spanish what it means, like the president himself, and when you said, what was the other? By myself, what's the difference like between those two in Spanish?
Okay. All right, good. So let me write that again in order not to break the rule that I'm following. It's going to be in the chat. All right, so you're talking about first Donald Trump himself, right? Well, like, what's the meaning of that one in Spanish? Okay, so let me write that for you. All right, so it's going to be something like this. Okay, I'm giving options. The first option is in parentheses before Donald Trump, and the second one is in the parentheses after Donald Trump. I'm sending it. I didn't send it yet. All right. So those are two possibilities. All right. We ran into Donald Trump himself. So it can be the first one or it can be the second one. All right. Those are the two possibilities of Donald Trump himself. All right. The president, for example, it can be like this. All right. And using that in Spanish is like giving emphasis to the idea that it was the president. Okay, the president himself. That's that one. And when you say by myself, it only means alone, literally. So it means this. All right, give me 1 second. And that's the other one. All right. And if you want to have the difference between the other one, and again, this is one possibility. It can have many translations, but this is the translation or the meaning that I'm showing you here. And in number 2, for example, it can be like this. All right. And in number 2, it's like if it were at the beginning. It's not at the beginning, but in Spanish, you have to translate it like this. All right, and that's number 2. They built that skyscraper themselves. All right, and you can say that without the parentheses, but it's over there. All right, so that's more or less what you can do to translate. Again, you have more options, Clarice, but the idea is showing that they did it, showing that you did it, showing that the president did it, showing that Donald Trump was there. And the last one, it only means alone, without anybody else. That's the only meaning of by myself, by yourself, by themselves, and so on and so on. So I
And
don't
all
know
the
if that
time,
helps, if you have more questions.
yeah,
Yes,
it
tell me.
helps, but in all the cases, themselves or yourself or the last word in the or sentences that say they build that skyscraper themselves always is at the end or can be at the middle or the beginning.
One more time, please. The last part. I didn't get the last part. It's always like that.
Yeah, themselves is always at the end or can be in the beginning or in the middle.
In the case of number 2 and number 2, it's advisable to have that at the end, because if you say they themselves, is not good. It's not common. Grammatically speaking, is not the best option. Is a better idea to have it at the end, all right? When it's in number 3 and number 4, it has to be next to the noun, okay? Always next to the noun. In number 1, it's always after the verb because it receives the action, okay? So one more time. In number 1, always after the verb. In number 2, it's advisable, the best option, that is at the end. Number 3 and number 4, they have to be after the noun, after president, after Donald Trump, after any noun that you use. And in the last one also, it's a good idea to use it at the end as well. Not always, but it's also the best option. All right, so those are the best places for all of those, Gladys. All right, any other questions, any other comments, please let me know. Okay, good. So it means that we can work on our examples. Please, I want you to use this chart, Gladys. So copy and paste this chart, this table. Okay, you can do it down below. And using this table, like this subject, verb, object, complement, please write 5 examples. Okay, let's do it, please. You tell me if you have any questions, but write 5 examples, dividing your examples like this, with these 1, 2, 3, 4 categories that you have over here. All right, let's do it, please. It's 35. We are
One
going to have
sentence
until
is
30. Yes, one for each. Remember that this is number 1. Okay, I'm going to use now colors. Give me 1 second. Is it good? No, that's not the one. Give
I'm
me
gonna get
please
some
1
paper
second
for
over
my
here.
nose while you do that, okay?
Okay. Yes, okay. Do it, please. All right, good. Now I have everything ready, Gladys. With this, I believe that it's clear for you to work. Look, here you have the color and what does that sentence means. So my first sentence is this yellow idea. One does and one receives the action, right? I saw what? Myself, right? I do, I receive the action. So one sentence like that. Green one, the action is being performed, or the action that is being performed is impressive, different, unusual, or it is done personally. If that's the case, that's number two. And the green one, they build that skyscraper themselves. Okay, one sentence like that, please, Gladys. When you put emphasis on the impressive idea that you did this action. And also something, Gladys, you asked me the best place. It's better to place it at the end because the emphasis is on everything. The emphasis is on they built that skyscraper. That's what is impressive. That's why it's at the end of everything. All right, that's number two. Number three and number four is the, well, kind of blue one, I don't know, bluish. The noun receives emphasis as subject and object. So here is one example as subject. The president himself has analyzed the proposal. And one example as object. We ran into Donald Trump himself in the street. And finally, right, this can wheel was supposed to be purple, but it's kind of pink. All right, so like the pink one is when you mean alone, without any help. So I always travel by myself. All right, so you have a total of five sentences, please. And you have to write those five sentences here. The yellow one, you do, you receive the action. The green one, all the action that you did is impressive. The blue ones, subject and object with emphasis on noun. And the pink one, alone. All right, something that you did or that you do or that you will do alone. Remember that all of them can be present, past, future. It depends on the context. So I don't know if you have questions for what we have to do, Gladys. You have to do it over here in this chart to divide in the same way I did it. So what do you say? Any questions before I give you the time to work on this? No? Let's do it then, please. It's 8:45. You can finish before. I'm going to give you until 49:50 maximum, and we check, please. Let's do it.
What is the past of draw? Is drew?
Yes, drew. Like no, new, right? So drew with E. That's correct.
The fourth one is not clear for me.
Right? 4-1. So number 4 is the same as number 3, but instead of using your noun as the subject, you have to use it as the object. All right? For example, you can say, I saw my mom herself in that party. All right, so you can say that. So it's the same, just use noun plus reflexive pronoun in the object. That's it. Try to do it. I'm going to let you know if it's okay. All right, so I believe that we have something there. Let's read all your examples, please, and we're going to see if it's okay, Gladys.
Okay, it's a he drew himself in the picture. She drove to the hospital herself. My mom herself has eaten junk food. She visited my mom herself yesterday. She always cooked by herself.
Thank you very much. Great. I think I only have one observation. Sorry, my camera. I thought it was on. Now, great. Just in the last one, remember, if it's she, this needs to be cooked or cooks. And as you have always, then it's going to be cooks, right? That's it. Good. He does the action, drawing, and he receives the action, being drawn, right? She driving to the hospital is something different, impressive, unusual, or you want to say personally, herself. Perfect, right? So it's very good so far. My mom herself has eaten junk food. If it's emphasis on your mom, because that's a very interesting action, correct? She visited my mom herself, right? So the idea of your mom being visited is correct yesterday. And she always cooks by herself. It means alone without any help. And that's the only thing that it means. All right, so it's good. I don't know if you have questions about this, Gladys. It's correct. Those are the 4 ways. Okay, you have 5 examples, but number 3 and number 4, remember, is the same idea, right? Nouns with reflexive pronouns. So, do you have any questions? Let me know, please.
No, I don't have.
All right, good. Now look, this question is clear, and we're about to finish everything. We only have one more lesson. That's going to be for tomorrow. Remember that tomorrow is our last class for this course, and then we start a new course, right? But we have some minutes, please, but I want to use this time to work on something for the TOEFL, and it's just speaking. You were telling me, I don't know if you were doing some research, Gladys, about the TOEFL. I don't know if you know anything about the structure of the TOEFL for the speaking part. Do you know anything about it?
Kind of, not too much.
Okay, good. Now, I want to see how you do something. I'm going to open the clock. As I'm opening the clock again because I'm going to look for it, this is going to be the question I'm going to ask you. All right? Do you prefer studying at home, or do you prefer to go to a library to study there? Okay, so one more time. Do you prefer to study home, or do you prefer to go to a library and study there? Okay, don't answer yet. Think of the answer, please, Gladys. You need to give me a very good answer with supporting details, with examples. You have to convince me, you have to persuade me that you are right, that your option is the best. And to do it, you have 45 seconds. Okay, you're going to have 45 seconds to prove that you are right. Okay, so I'm going to, again, look for the clock. I'm going to repeat the question. In the meantime, please, I'm going to give you 1 minute to think of the possible answer. And again, I'm not going to give you any structure yet. In the way that you can, you're only going to have 45 seconds. Okay, think of the answer, please. Okay, now my clock is here. I'm still going to give you time. We're going to use 1 minute. My recommendation, in this 1 minute, if you have something to write, okay, or you have in your notebook with you, or even if you have a Word document, look for something to write, and please, on that piece of paper or sheet of paper, on that document, write your answer, write at least 2 reasons, okay, and give me at least 1 example to show why it is correct, right? But just write some ideas, not complete sentences, not complete ideas, just words like this is the option, this is 1 reason, 1 word or 2 words. Okay, 1 reason, for example, money or time, or it's more comfortable or something like that. Okay, very short. The second reason is this and this. And then look for 1 example that can illustrate that. Okay, just what you can. You don't have to write everything. 1 minute, please. Okay, 1 minute to organize those ideas. And one more time, the question is, do you prefer to study home or do you prefer to go to a library and study there? Okay, 1 minute to organize your ideas, please. Okay, so it's about to be 1 minute, and there you go. Now, I'm going to repeat the question. Please, Gladys, get ready. You're going to have 45 seconds to answer, okay? It cannot be more than 45. It can be less, a little bit less, but at least it has to be 40 seconds, okay? But the limit is 45 seconds. So one more time the question, do you prefer to study home or do you prefer to go to a library and study there? Please let me know if you're ready to answer, Gladys. Are you? More or less. Okay, good. That's enough, okay? Because this is just an attempt. Let's do it, please. And you can start now. 45 seconds.
I prefer study at the library because I can get more concentrate and not distracted with other things around me. Also, I remember when I took a class for a couple of months. Have I have been studying online, and I didn't get it at all, the class, because I was distracted with some other stuff that I needed to do at my home. That's what I say that I like it, or I prefer better study at the library. Another is because of the chef 45, right?
Until, yes, good, great. Okay, we're actually, it was a great, I don't know if you practiced before with this, but it was a good, all right attempt. It was a very good attempt because of many things. Of course, we have details and things to practice, there are very important things that we need to change. But the main thing that you did, again, it was great. You mentioned at least two main reasons. You were developing an example, as I told you, and I believe that that example can be a very good example if you get to develop. You were having some trouble developing that example, but it was a good one. It was a very good one because it applied to the purpose of this question directly. And that's what we want. Okay, so it was very good. Now, what we can do there to improve? Again, this is not part of the course, at least not of these courses for learning or practicing English, but I want to practice this with you as well. Now, this is what you're going to do, Gladys. I'm going to show you a template. Give me just 1 second. All right. It is not, this is writing. Okay, I'm just going to show you this. And tomorrow, after our last presentation, you're going to practice one more time the same question, but you are going to use one strategy that I'm going to show you. All right, this is the one. Okay, I have a presentation for this, but right now I only need you to see the template. Okay, good. Now, this is going to be on a presentation, but one more time, you need to know that for the introduction of your response, you need a maximum of 10 seconds. You cannot use more than that. And it's better if you use less than 10 seconds. Okay, for example, I prefer to study home because it's more comfortable and I don't have any distractions, period. Okay, that's your, you tell me what's your option and you tell me at least 2 main reasons. Okay, let's see how much it takes. I'm going to do it. Let's time it. So, I prefer to study at home because it's more comfortable and I have no distractions. Okay, 5 seconds. That's my introduction. The top that you can use is 10 seconds. But you cannot use more because if not, you're not going to have time to develop your reasons, your examples, and everything else. Okay, so that's the first part. I would choose to do this, or you can simply say because of the following reasons, and it can be shorter. You can say just this. I prefer to study home because of the following reasons, period. Now you start. It's very important, Gladys, that you show that you are organized, that you know how to use transitional words, that you know how to connect all your ideas, okay? Because again, everything that you said was great, but perhaps the organization was not that clear because we were not using these words. Okay, so after you give your introduction, you can say, first of all, firstly, to commence, to begin with, as a first point, and so on and so on. All right, so first of all, it is important to me because I feel comfortable at home. All right, so it's the opposite to what you were saying, I believe, but I'm giving you an example. Okay, I'm more comfortable at home. I don't have any noise right here, and I can study right. I don't know, at the time that I want to study. Okay, so I'm developing more about that. But you first have to focus on the first detail. If in my case is comfortable, being comfortable, I only talk about that in the first part of my description. And I have at least 15 seconds. All right, and let's try to do it again. I'm going to use just a couple of minutes. We're going to finish in a while. It can be like this. First of all, as I said, it's important to me because I feel more comfortable. There's no noise in my house. I can be there studying right the time I want, and that's why to me it's better. Okay, so that's it. I went to that idea. It's not the best response that I could give, but it's 15 seconds and I'm achieving my objective. Now I go to the next one. All right, and you can say something like, secondly, besides, also. It's important because of what we said, no distractions, right? No distractions. You develop that for 15 seconds more or less, and you include your example there, Gladys. You can include your example there, right? And you can say, for example, secondly, it's important because I have no distractions. I'm alone at home. If I go to the library, for example, I remember once I went there, it was impossible because no one was quiet. Everybody was speaking to one another, and it was a pretty bad experience. I used more time. We can do that when we used less than 10 seconds here. I used 5 seconds, so I can use 5 extra seconds over there. Okay, so I'm being very precise. You don't have to follow the time like this, guys. This is just parameters that you can take into account. But it's for you to be organized and to be sure that you're going to finish everything in 45 seconds. Okay, so that's the example. That's the second part. Sorry, I don't know why. And now the conclusion is optional. Only if you are in second 39 or 40, do the conclusion. If you are in second 41 or 42, don't do the conclusion. Just stop there. Okay, so you can say, and that's why it was a bad experience. And I see that it's second 30, oh, sorry, 40 or 41, then I stop there. I don't say anything else because it's better for you to stop before than to start something else and not finish it. Okay, imagine I'm in the last 5 seconds and I say, and that's why I really believe that this option is the best because I think that, and that's it. The recording stops. You cannot stop it. You cannot continue. It's worse. That's going to be recorded, and they are going to think that you are not organized, that you are not paying attention to the time, that you don't know how to use this structure. All right. So again, if it's close to second 41, 42, don't say the conclusion. But if you are in second 39 or 40, you can say something like this. Look, very, very rapidly. And that's why I believe to study or that studying at home is the best option. Okay, and that's it. It has to be top to 5 seconds. Only if you are sure that you have that time. If not, again, don't do it. But this is the structure that you need to follow. All right. First 10 seconds for the introduction, the next 15 seconds for the first reason, next 15 seconds for the second reason, and the last 5 seconds for the conclusion if you have the time. You can use more or less time according to how you organize your time. If you know that your introduction was shorter than 10 seconds, you can use more time for your examples. If your introduction was long, you cannot do that. Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions now. I just wanted to show you this because tomorrow you're going to do it again, but this time you're going to follow these parameters. Do you have any questions before finishing today? Let me know, please, Gladys.
No, I think it's all clear.
Okay, good. So please take this into account. Take these parameters into account. I'm going to upload, not today, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to upload this template plus the presentation tomorrow. But again, I want you to try to remember these elements, all right, for working tomorrow one more time. So that's it. If you don't have any more questions, please, let's finish here. As I'm sending the poll, I'm going to remind you that again, tomorrow we finish the course. So we should have everything on Pearson done so that on Friday, we can start the next course. Okay, you have the daily survey there. Please answer those questions, and that's it, guys. I hope you have a good night. I hope you get better. All right.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Okay, see you then tomorrow.
Bye. See you.
Bye bye. Good night.